Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Product Checklist, the podcast diving into methodologies, frameworks, and real world strategies behind successful product development in Web3. Today, we are joined by Morteza Khedri, Chief Solidity Developer at Next Labs, the first decentralized exchange offering programmable blockchain indices for crypto and NFTs. He's based in Tehran and sometimes in Dubai, and he leads Solidity architecture focused on RWA, real world asset, protocol, and on-chain index product. He previously served as lead blockchain architect at Tailgate and blockchain developer at Hamir Kabir Science. He is consistently sharing insight into the benefits, risk, and implementation of RWA in DeFi to the community. In today's episode, we will explore what it takes to build RWA infrastructure, how to structure technical project development, and how to make complex on-chain components work together. Morteza, thank you for joining us on the project checklist.
Hello, guys. Hope you're doing well. And thanks, Devin, for having me here. I hope that I can share my knowledge in the best way for you and your listeners.
Yes, my pleasure. Thank you for being with us today. Could you share your journey from your economics studies to becoming Chief Solidity Developer at Next Labs, please?
Yes, exactly. So my path was a bit different. So I didn't start my career and my studies from computer science side. Actually, I came into the Web3 space from the financial side of my journey. So I studied economy in the university, and one of the case studies that I had was about cryptocurrencies. After university, I started even teaching cryptocurrencies to other people. And at that time, actually, I saw the point about the Web3 and the point about the blockchain and how it can change the financial structures and how they are great for transparency and the security. For that reason, I decided to move further into the blockchain space, Web3 space, to have effect on this wave of revolution in the technology.
Nice. And what was the moment that made you decide to focus on building core infrastructure for on-chain and RWA? And especially, what make you decide to go full on the blockchain?
Yes, exactly. And so the first light was about Uniswap itself. I was teaching Uniswap and centralized exchange beside of that called the Binance exchange. And the difference between them was interesting for me. For example, in Uniswap, there is no uh, centralized liquidity. There is no centralized authority, and everything is faster, more secure. And so when I saw Uniswap, I was interested in what is the difference in technology between Uniswap and Binance Exchange. And so that was the first light. And about RWA products, actually, I saw, for example, that by tokenizations of real world assets, you can have more power as a user to trade your asset, to transfer that, to actually have a more fractional of that. You can have a part of that. Let's say you have a tokenized asset called your real estate. If you want to transfer part of that, you can just transfer part of your token and you can trade that in any time of the day. So those things actually they motivated me to start working on the RW.
Wow, nice. Okay. And let's talk a little bit about more technical side. And how does building solidity contracts for decentralized index project is different from other DeFi smart contract?
From the smart contract side, we are using the same most of the functionalities that are used for other
And what is the biggest architectural challenge when you are bringing real world asset data into the tokens? Okay, I have another question, but about actually how do you make the bridge between off-chain and on-chain? I would say on a technical aspect and also on the project aspect. And so, yeah, and based on that, how do you structure the smart contract architecture with the balance between security and sustainability? Because we know chaining is evolving very fast and is very strong. How do you compose with that? Okay. And actually, how do you align economic model logic, like rebalancing dynamics or fee structures, with on-chain constraint and execution cost? How do you decide between launching a lean MVP or architecting for scale from the start? For example, do you prefer a phase rollout or a full infrastructure plan executed in stages?
Something between them, because actually we would like to first we need to understand the market response to our product. So we don't want to, for example, having something after 1 year of development and then launching that. So, but at the same time, we don't like to have something with minimal features. So we would like to have we would like to start with the product with the features that are interesting for the market, and the users would like to use that. And after that, we will add more features by time, by the market requirements, by the backtests that we receive, by the feedbacks that we receive from users. So yeah, something between them, I think, is optimal.
Okay. Can you walk us through your roadmap and when you are building an WA product? What comes first? Is it the contract? Is it the Oracle? Is it the tokenomics? Is it legal? How do you sequence the development to keep the
Yes.
stack modular? Crazy.
So first, the logic of the product is important. We work on the logic and what are the underlying assets, what are the dates, what is the rebalance frequency that we have. Actually, we do some research, and also regulations are important. Before starting, we work on the regulations. We you know, if there is any regulatory requirement that we need to pass. After that, we develop a smart contracts in the first point, and at the same time as developing, we take care about the test coverage and security points, also Oracle setup that we have. And when we finalize the smart contracts, at the same time, we are working on the front end. I mean, if there is any dashboard that user needs to use and to manage his RWA tokens. And the final step is integrating our smart contracts with the front end using TypeScript and JavaScript libraries. And after that, we move into the testing side, just publish not completely 100% to some small part of the community to have feedback and backtests from that. And at the end, we publish our product.
Okay. And at which moment do you assess the customer demand to be sure that you're building a product with real needs and not just a product just for building a product?
Yes, so actually for our users, important point is the utility of our product. So it's not 100% stage that we go to users. We go users with the base features that we have. Then we complete our product. We make that more perfect by having more feedback from market, more feedback about the asset improvement, the asset functionality itself. And yeah, so the communication between us and the community, and also that the traditional investors are important here. We don't try to build a product from our perspective. Actually, we create our logic, but we improve that based on the market perspective.
Okay. And actually, because you just explained us a lot of things like the on-chain code, the off-chain data, the UI dashboard. How do you actually architect everything with integration points so the system remains synchronized, resilient, and easy to debug?
Yeah, so actually, with the first thing, actually, the priority for us is that because we are working on the different parts, as you said, and the connectivity between them and the compatibility between them, they should be reliable each other. They should work sometimes in parallel with each other. I mean, for example, at the rebalance time, you have Oracle and you have rebalance actions. They should be aligned to each other. So actually, we create our system. Before that, we decide to have diagrams, documents for all developers, the roadmap, the timelines. So we define the timelines that each developer should knows what to do at a specific time. If I develop an Oracle, at the same time, rebalance functionality should be implemented. So about the structuring of the team, documents, and the planning is important. And also having that in an optimal way. We actually work on the optimizing our smart contracts and also our Oracle to be to have a flexible product, and that's the goal that we always purchasing.
Okay. And about actually build the product and coding and building everything. What do you favor? Do you favor building small, iterate fast, or build robust infrastructure layers by layers? What trade-off have you observed across your experience in RWA protocol?
For me, user experience is the priority. So from user perspective, user actually expects to have something easy to use, secure, and sometimes fast. But the point is that we don't try to have a small thing, and so we try to have something step by step. So I think that the layer based development is the better way, but by focusing on the user experience itself. So we start with layers of development, layers of feedback, layers of marketing. But for each layer, we have different perspectives that we always take care of to have a great product on the market.
Okay. And actually, let's talk a little bit about the team collaboration. And how do you coordinate with project, data, front-end teams when you are building RWA?
Yes, so from a small so I'm happy that our team, we are really because the experience, we are working together for a long time, almost 3 years. So we are having a good communication and good relationship in terms of technical points. But it's not only about that. We are having a great CTO that manages tasks, and we are having daily meetings sometimes, but always weekly meetings, sometimes daily meetings that we are checking our tasks together. And so we don't waste our time by just working on the different tasks, know each other. Also, the documentation is important. Any of the departments that we have, we try to document what we have done and what we are planning to do, and we are sharing that. So we have a Discord group, we have a different channels for each part. And so by those tools, also we have some AI assistants that help us. For example, this part is doing this. Let's focus on this task because it's important. And another thing is that we focus, if another department is waiting for us, we try to prototype the task that is important for that department. If integration is waiting, for example, for an API from our smart contract side, so we stop working on other tasks and we'll do this task to speed up that department. We don't do our tasks first. So by doing such things, actually, we try to increase the functionality of our team.
And so who is in charge for the prioritization of the features? Because anyone can come at you and say, we want this right now, but someone has to prioritize and say, okay, yes, it's what really needed right now by the customer. So let's build it.
Yeah, so we have a product manager, and the CEO. They from the market conditions. Also, we have CMO, and from the market, they say, okay, for example, market needs this kind of the product, this kind of RWA product, and we will have a meeting. So our CTO will receive this part of roadmap. So they define the roadmap, and our CTO comes to us and say, okay, we are in this A stage of this roadmap that we need to have this product. So our CTO defines the tasks and documentations, which one needs to do which tasks. So we define our tasks, we define our timeline to him, and when we we have done that. He decides to review that and confirm that. So this is the process that we always follow to have a product.
Okay. So what is the critical role of smart contract architecture in launching on-chain index project versus traditional project launches?
Yeah. So actually, in the launch time, actually, the testing phase is really important for us because we have testing that by ourselves as developers, but user also may test that in a different way. So that point is really important for us, that the users feedback from the market and the testing phase, and also the security reviews of other teams. We got some feedbacks from other security teams. Also, that's something that we always take care.
Okay. And actually, at Next Labs, how do you take customer review right now? How are you doing it right now?
Yeah, so we have a community for our protocol. We have Discord channel, and we have support. We have a support channel. We have support email. But more than that, we have AI assistants in our the app itself. So any user has a problem, our AI tries to helps on that specific, and is if it's a technical problem, that AI assistants will reach us, will notifies us about that, and we will work on that in the shortest time.
What early signal indicate your index product is gaining traction versus just speculation?
Yeah, so the main point is about TVL. By TVL, we understand that how our product is growing and how we can scale our product. But also there are some other metrics about, for example, the market share that we have, and also the number of users, active addresses that are using. And we have some on-chain metrics, just I said, active users, active addresses, transactions count on the specific day, which a smart contract is getting more traction, the Oracle transactions volume. Yeah, by so those metrics, we just understand how our product is working. Is that good for market or not?
Okay, let's talk about project leadership and engineering methodologies. Which stage do you prefer? Is it the prototyping phase, the infrastructure scaling, or optimizing and compatibility?
Yeah, so the I would say for us, scaling is really important. For all of them are important, in my opinion. So, but I would emphasize on the scaling point of that. Why I say that? Because sometimes I see some protocols that are working great in the first stage by some small number of users, but by growing number of users, by growing the TVL, they go into trouble. So you should prepare yourself to be scaled in the long-term plan, because now we are working on the highest stage of technology. I mean that we are creating new products. Sometimes they haven't been before. So they are new. There is no experience for other products. When you create a decentralized exchange like Uniswap, you know that okay, Uniswap is the biggest one. They've been there for a couple of years, so you understand how they work. But when you create a product that never been before, you should prepare your product even for having bigger TVL. Most of users maybe come after sometimes. So you should scale yourself. You should prepare yourself to be scaled in the future.
Anticipating the fact that your product is so good that you will have a lot of customers coming in and to use your product, right?
Yes.
We talk about documentation and what engineering artifact matters most for you. Is it the architecture diagrams, the test framework? Is it the deployment script? Or do you have other document you really like to use in your day-to-day activities?
So when you have your work documented, that's great, because even non-developers, members of your team can understand what you are doing. So that's the best thing. So I would suggest having diagrams and actually even links to other articles for your product. For example, if you are using a tool, it's good to have some sharing links to explain to non-developers and also developers that what you are doing, also how you test your project, the test coverage that you have, the bug reporting that you have. If you have them documented, it's really good, not only for your team members but also for the future version of yourself, because after sometimes you may forgot what you did. So by just looking into your documentation, you understand that okay, I was working on this and these are the things that I take care of. So really important, documentation is really important, all aspects of that.
Yeah. So there is documentation, but there is also the metrics and KPI. Which metric do you follow most as an engineer at Next Lab?
Yeah, so for metrics, test coverage is important for me from the development side, and bug reporting. I would look into the actually security monitoring tools to see that there's no vulnerability with current smart contracts. Also, and after development, the TVL, the active users, the transactions that we have, and the volume of the transactions. Is there any limitation based on the user activation? So those metrics I follow, but what I try to do is to uh, uh, automating them. I always try to automating those things by have some scripts, even some AI assistants. So I just say the condition, and those metrics should be checked every minute. And hopefully we have developed some metrics that we are checking. For example, if user sends transaction, we have a even listener that we checks that user transaction is in a good way, the volume of that, the fulfillment time, and those metrics are correct. So we have those metrics not bound by human. We are moving to the automated metrics checking.
Okay. You talk about the bugs, and actually, I have a question. I'm not really technical, but I want to understand. Sometimes you will have a period with a lot of bugs, and sometimes we'll have a period with not a lot of bugs. For you, when you have a lot of bugs, does this mean people are using the product and discovering new things? Is it good or bad? Whether do you prefer not having bugs at all?
Yeah, for sure, that's something that we don't like to have, because that doesn't have a good effect on user experience if we allow users identify our bugs. The main difference between Web 2 and Web 3 from a smart contract point is that in the Web 2, you define, for example, backend for your project. You can edit that, you can change that anytime that you want. But from the smart contract side in the Web3, the challenge that you have is that your smart contracts are not that much changeable. And so when you define a smart contract, that would remain the same. We have upgradabilities that we are using in our smart contracts, but what we try to do is to identify any possible bugs before launching to the mainnet and allowing publishing our product. So from the zero step, even from before the developing, starting the developing, we try to identify what will happen. From the developing side, by focusing on the test coverage and other all kind of tests, we try to identify possible bugs. And also what the thing we are doing, we are reviewing our codes not by only one person, by different persons. So we are sharing our code, our smart contract with other teams to check. Also, we have different layers of security and testing. And the all things that we do is just preventing any bug happens in the mainnet. We were having some kind of hackathons. So we allow users to find bugs and we will reward for that. And so we are adding extra layers of testing and security to just not having that bug. But even if any bug happens, we actually predict that by having our smart contracts upgradable and modular. So by modular smart contract means that you have different smart contracts for different tasks. So if we see, for example, a problem happens in one part, we can upgrade that smart contract and edit that smart contract, or even replacing that because it's a modular system that we have.
Okay, that's very complete. So that's yeah, really good way to build product, and especially the fact that in Web3, as you said, you cannot going back easily like
Yeah,
in Web2. So you have to put a lot of work before launching your product on the mainnet.
exactly.
Okay, and in your experience, what is the trap the new W engineer often face when they are starting to build RWA product?
I think not predicting the challenges that we have. Because in RWA, we are working on new technology. Sometimes we may miss some key points that we will face in the future, mostly based on the off-chain data execution, because we should have execution off-chain to buy underlying asset off-chain. Sometimes we underrate, we underestimate what's happening on the off-chain, and this communication is important because sometimes it would be complicated to have off-chain execution. Sometimes, for example, the limitations that we have, data limitation that we have, sometimes it's about the provider limitation. By provider, I mean that when you buy underlying asset from a place, that place is a provider. If you are buying a stock, the stock market is your provider. So your provider has some limitations. If you don't count those emulations and don't predict those limitations, you may even be stopped at the time of developing because you need to wait. As you said, for example, regulation. If you don't predict the regulation, your product may be not completed because of one regulation point and you stopped. So everything would be bad for your product roadmap.
Okay, so you have to be constantly looking at, I will not say everything, but most of the things that are
Yes,
gatekeepers in the product.
exactly. From technical side, we don't have that much limitation. We understand limitations of blockchain, smart contracts, oracles, but from providers that we are communicating with, we may have some limitations that we don't know about. So we should reach them. We should, you know, read documents, regulations. Also, the support of that provider is important to not having limitations from that specific side. But as you said, maybe we cannot predict 100%. So we are not looking for 100%, but as much as possible.
Okay. And let's talk about a little bit about your customer actually at Next Labs, and what is the main value they have from your product actually?
Yeah, so actually we are innovating traditional finance. We are having some innovations from traditional finance. So we are enabling users to do much more things that they have been able to use. For example, let's think about the stock market user. If he wants to buy, for example, a stock share, he should wait in the market time. But by using RW tokens, he doesn't need to wait in the market time. He can trade in any time that he wants in 24 hours, even in holidays, because we have also some liquidity pools for our tokens. And also they can use the fractions of their assets. Let's say you can even you have 18 decimals for your token, so you can, I mean that you can transfer even a small part of your token to other people. So being fractional, being able to trade that in any time are the most important things. And also the KYC process is complicated for traditional finance. We try to decrease that by the respect to the regulations, for sure that we don't want to ignore regulations, but with the respect of regulations, we try to decrease the KYC process for users.
Okay, yeah. So and what is your, I will say, your main customer today? Is it more institutional? Is it more, I will say, retails? Is it companies? Who are they more or less?
I would say all of them. So we have, for example, Banca Sella, third biggest bank of Italy. as one of our biggest shareholders and also one of the biggest of product holders, token holders. And also we have some other small companies that we have partnership with, but also we are focusing on the traditional users because we have traditional users. They are not interested in Web3, some of them anymore, because of they want to use something real and real financial tools that we have on Web2. So traditional users also are the main goal, but any Web3 user and not Web3 users are our goal. So main goal for us is to bringing more users to Web3. Not only using the Web3 users, also bringing traditional users into the Web3 space by bringing more functionality that we can introduce to them. If they understand what they can do with um, the centralized way, they will do that. They will come great.
Yeah. And there is this famous quote that's saying everything will be tokenized.
Yeah,
Can you comment on that? What do you think?
exactly. So tokenization, I don't look at the Web3 as a separated thing rather than traditional finance. Let's say TradFi, traditional finance, and DeFi. Many people actually they are separating them. They act like the DeFi is something separated, but DeFi is the new, let's say, the new face of the traditional finance. Traditional finance should be upgraded to DeFi, the centralized finance. So the tokenization is the key point of that. The assets, the tokenized assets, we have assets that they all can be tokenized, and that token can represent a specific asset. And by having tokenized assets, we can bring more functionality to those assets, and we can program those assets. You can loan that asset, you can swap that asset. And even for not transferable assets like real estates, you can trade them fastly in any time. You can have a part of that. You can share them with others. But the current traditional finance that we have is not flexible anymore. By having internet, even it's not flexible. So tokenization is the gateway of more functionality, more flexibility to the traditional finance, in my opinion.
Hmm. Okay, that's great. Um, let's talk about the on-chain project life cycle. And as we know, there is different phases. It's like acquisition, activation, retention, revenue, and referral. In your view, which stage, sorry, matters most and why?
Yeah, so I know that you will be tired of my the same answer, but all of them are important. But I would, for example, emphasize on a part of them based on my experience is that accusation is something that I take care more because of my part. And so the way that you achieve your product is from the technical path, the tools that you are using, the tools that you are selecting, the regulations that you need to pass, the integration with other protocols that you need to have. Those things are the structure, are the bones of your product. And if you don't focus on acquisition a lot and you have a weak acquisition, as I told you, after a long time by higher TVL, you will face some problems. And so acquisitions, be prepared for all things that can happen to your product, in my opinion, is important.
Okay. And for you, what KPI signals that you are hitting your target during the acquisition phase?
Yeah. So from acquisition, actually, some part of those signals on from actually the time of development, and for example, the audit rate that we have, the coverage rate that we have, the reports that we got from technical teams. But after development, also signals are important. TVL, we take care about TVL, but active users and those metrics that I mentioned before, transactions and the volume that we are using, data transferring, data size that we have for our Oracle by time, in my opinion, are important. and we have a data streaming in our product to analyze the health of our product based on the time.
Okay. And is there any silent killer, an indicator that look like good but signify deeper vulnerability, in your opinion?
I would suggest moving deeper functionality, because in this space, the Web3 space that we are developing, actually, I saw some products, they are really working on surface. They are working with the hype. And I would suggest having longer term perspective and view rather than just having something small. And so by having a deeper, actually technical perspective, you can ensure that your product will be usable for a longer term plan for your users.
Okay. And in your experience, what typical failure do you often see in index product on RWA and how can they be solved very quickly?
Yes, so off-chain data management, I always say off-chain Oracle attacks that happens because the off-chain data transferring to on-chain is a place that is interesting for attackers, and not sometimes for attackers. Sometimes protocol itself will destroy itself by not predicting the data size, the data limitation that they have. So off-chain data management, off-chain data execution is something that I sometimes I see in some protocols that so a smart contract works fine, but the off-chain doesn't respond completely. And I think the point is about not about off-chain execution, but about the off-chain integration with your on-chain functionalities. So your integration maybe is not good enough to allow on-chain execution be part of the off-chain execution and they work together. So that's something that I sometimes I see that is missed in some projects.
And for you, what is the best way to manage this part of integration? I mean, explain it to someone not technical at all to try to understand what's wrong actually right now and what can we improve to make it better.
I think that one of the reasons that can happen is that the developer mindset or developer itself that is developing off-chain execution is separated than the developer who is doing on-chain execution. So they are not in parallel. They are not compatible to each other. Even if it's by one developer, those two technologies are different completely. You are using different tools. So to solve this challenge, actually, you need to utilize your functions, your tests, and you need to test them together. And when you are developing a smart contract, you need to think about the off-chain execution. If you are doing off-chain execution, you need to think about the on-chain execution. So in any site, you should have the test scenarios for your other side. On on-chain, you should have off-chain test scenarios. On off-chain, you need to have on-chain test scenarios. So you should understand each other, because you are having two different words, off-chain and on-chain. They don't know each other. So you need to introduce them by each other by having more tests, more logics, more functions.
And actually, how do you, because you have to really invent a new bridge between these two worlds, actually, how do you find the solution to bridge them? Is it, I don't know, is it from previous experiences? Is it a better understanding of both worlds? Can you explain us how do you do it?
Yes, I have a sentence that says experience is the worst teacher, because it punishes you to teach something to you. But sometimes you have to learn from your experience because you are the first one that you are doing that. But if you want to solve this problem and any problem that you have, it's more about the knowledge of you. And that's the reason why I don't only work on smart contracts, but also I have knowledge for backend, bot, off-chain execution, and even I have knowledge with front end. Because when I'm developing a smart contract, at the same time I'm thinking about my front end developer, and at the same time I'm thinking about my off-chain function developer. Sometimes I work with him most of the times I work with also Web2 developers for those off-chain executions. I just want to understand them. When you understand the different parts of your project, you are working on separated part, but when you understand other parts, you will have test scenarios for those parts. So yes, it's experience, but also it's knowledge that when you understand other parts, you can have scenarios for those parts. One thing that I would always suggest to other developers, because most of them, not like me, even in the team, they say, we don't like documents, writing documents. That's boring. And I say them, not only it's better for you to write document, also it's better to have blogs, articles for the community, for Twitter. Anything that you face, someone else may faces later. So any experience that you have, if you document that, articleize that, and share that on LinkedIn or in the blog, someone else may use that in the future. And it's not only about you. If someone else actually reaches that challenge that you will reach in the future, you can use his experience. So I always, from RWA, as you said, we are sometimes inventing things. So I always write my experience, write that, and I publish that anywhere that I can. Other people should use that and use other people experience. Why not? So this thing can prevent us in the future from final bugs, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so it's about communication with people and having knowledge to understand what everybody is doing and
Yes,
make the grid.
exactly. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Morteza, we are actually at the final section of the episode and we have quick question looking for short answers. Are you ready?
Yeah.
What is the best advice about Solidity or DeFi development you have ever received?
The best advice for me is that don't distract yourself with other technologies rather than Web3. I mean, just for example, moving to, if you have a hype, you move to a hype. Like AI is not a hype, but sometimes in some parts, in my opinion, yes. So don't try to distract yourself. Focus on one field and try to deeper on that field. Because in this world is rewarding to the people who are specialized in something, not those people who know everything. You cannot know everything. It's better to know a limited thing, but in a deep knowledge.
So stay focused.
Yeah, for being focused, not distracted to other technologies.
What is the worst advice you've ever received in the Web3 space?
In my opinion, following hypes is the worst thing that you can do with yourself. You just see what is the hype. If you remember, for example, what happened to Metaverse, lots of people move to Metaverse. And sometimes we have some hypes, or just sometimes back, we had the meme coins hype. So many developers, they move to Solana and try to launch meme coins. And now I see that they are changing to AI. So you cannot make yourself competitor because there are some great AI developers. You cannot compete with them. You should be focused on something which remains for a long time. You can have solutions for that.
Hmm. What is the most underrated Web3 engineering skills?
In my opinion, zero knowledge. Zero knowledge is the thing that I don't know why many developers, they don't care about that. When I was learning zero knowledge, I saw that how many challenges it can solve. And the painful thing for me is that when you are learning that, you see, oh, by this point, I was able to solve the problem from, for example, 1 year back. So zero knowledge is something that you can create lots of solutions, especially for this scale of your project. Our Web3 protocols, some of them are not scalable based on the users, but for zero knowledge, data transferring, that's something. And also job market for that is really good. But the thing that makes developers not, for example, looking for zero knowledge is that it's a bit complicated. And for example, sometimes I go to some online events about zero knowledge. I see, for example, we start with 10 people, but we end with 2 people. That means that they all don't understand that, and they don't have, for example, feeling or motivation to understand that. They feel that it's hard. Yes, it's a bit complicated, but when it's complicated means that it can solve most things when I check that, so those complexity, they are not bad. Sometimes you need complexity, but for sure that I always say that try to make it simple, but the complexity of zero knowledge is something that sometimes you need as a painful, for example, that like for yourself, for your project, you need to have.
What difference you have between a great developer and a good developer?
In my opinion, a good developer tries to learn everything and tries to be a person who knows everything. But great developers tries to solve the problems and the challenges. We need people to solve the challenges rather than knows everything. We don't need the university teachers. We need to have problem solvers, problem thinkers. I love those people. The thing that I always, for example, when someone asks me what you would like to be in the future, I say someone who can solve the problems by, for example, introducing a library can, for example, change the way that people are developing, making the developers' life easier. So solving problems, solving the big challenges is something that I always appreciate about other developers.
What is for you the biggest friction bringing in bringing RWA DeFi to life?
So in my opinion, again, security and off-chain execution and regulation. Those things actually are the things that sometimes they may create challenge for you. They can change your timeline. They can, even in the future, after sometimes they can create some problems for you. So that's the thing that I always do care about. I always write about, and I always share my opinion about. To just care about them.
Okay. In one word, can you describe the future of on-chain asset infrastructure?
So I think that in one word,
Yeah.
I would say tokenization. I think that tokenization is the key, is the future.
Okay. It's the bridge between
Exactly.
TradFi and DeFi.
Because we have a separated word. Now Web3 is a separated word. Why it's a separated? It shouldn't be separated. The traditional finance should link to the decentralized finance. Tokenization is this link. We still have a long term. I think I saw somewhere that we have 2% of real world assets on chain. So 98% of them, they are off chain. Tokenization is important here.
Yeah. And do you have, not especially in blockchain or RWA, but in general, do you have a contrarian belief that everybody say it's wrong, but that actually work?
So you mean that blockchain works?
Yeah, I mean, I believe contrarian thinking that everybody is saying you wrong when you're saying that, but when you are looking at the data, at the real life, it's actually work what you are saying.
Yes. No, actually, I believe also in that. So uh, anything that we want, if we have plan for that, but by considering other points, it should work. So yes, I always say that don't say negative things about the thing that you are doing. But I come back to blockchain example. For example, I see some people, they are positive when prices are high, and they are negative when prices are low. I remember people when they were saying many bad things about Ethereum when price of that was low, around 1,000, 2,100. And they said that Ethereum is dead, Vitalik is the reason of that. But when Ethereum went more than 4,000, so they said, oh, that's everything great, Web3 is great. So the price is the perspective of them. But I say that if you have plan for something in the future, just believe in that and don't look into the distractions of other people. Just do whatever you think is right. without looking into the other people's opinion. Just do considerations and do whatever you think is correct.
Hmm. Oh, yeah. Okay. And the last one, what question did I not ask you during this episode that I should have asked you?
I would like to ask me what, when I come back, what I would like to do. I mean, what I miss from the beginning of my career.
So can you answer to that?
Yes, exactly. So from a Web3 developer perspective, I would say that focusing a lot on a smart contract itself was one thing that I would love to change. I mean, Web3 is not only a smart contract. And so if you are a Web3 developer and you are the programmer, should uh, involve yourself with more technologies around Web3 itself. I don't say, for example, other technologies, but try to open your wing with more solutions, because smart contract is not the solution for any problem that you have in Web3. You need to also learn other points, other tools to enable your smart contract, help your smart contract to solve the problem.
Okay. And where can our listeners listen to you and having more of your knowledge? Where can they follow you? Is it on Twitter, on LinkedIn? Where can they follow?
For sure that the first thing that they need to do and they have to do is to listen or to watch all of this video, not only this video, but also other videos. I checked your videos. They are really informative. For sure that this video comes first. My LinkedIn, I work on LinkedIn a lot and I try to share my knowledge, but also I try to work on Twitter. Also, I have planned to create a podcast. You are having a new competitor. I try to have a podcast mostly focused on the challenges of Web3 for in the LinkedIn, so user can understand what will happen. For example, for those challenges, how to solve that, how to look into the challenges, and yes, so LinkedIn is the main point that I would suggest.
Okay. So it's always good to have competition because actually, to be honest, I don't think we will be competitor because I'm not a technical guy. So what you know, I don't know. So you're gonna be so much better at what you are going to do. Actually, I think we can be partners and share different values to the same community.
Sure.
So that's gonna be great. So it's gonna be great.
Exactly. We need more of those things in Web3 space for all aspects. I think that user miss those considerations, those interviews, to have a bigger view of what's happening in the Web3 space.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So Morteza, thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you for your time and everything you share with us today. So to our listeners, check the show notes for the links to Morteza profile, Next Labs, and the podcast discussed mentioned earlier. Morteza, it was a real pleasure, and I will let you the final word of this episode. What do you want to share to the Web3 community?
Yeah. So actually, first of all, I would say thank you a lot. And so answering questions actually is not only the point for me, also I learned a lot from your questions. So your questions actually motivates me on also to think again about the problem. So those things, those interviews are really great. And I hope that you continue this way, this path, and so you will have, and you are having a great effect on the Web3 space, in my opinion, for users, builders, and all aspects, and investors. And yes, that's a great job, and I hope that you continue that in the highest level of energy.
Thank you very much, Morteza.
Thank you.
Have a good day and see you around.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye.